Hello everybody and welcome to my world card from the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. Here it is, my tarot deck, Exhibit A. So, the world. There's a lot to say about this card, perhaps even more than normally I find to say about my cards, which is quite a lot, so bear with me and hopefully there'll be something to inspire or inform you in this video. Now, the first thing I like to do when I'm discussing any of these cards is to draw the comparison between my version and what we could call the traditional Rider-Waite version, which is here. And the main thing that we can see straight away is that the central female figure is holding two batons or wands, and my central female figures are also holding wands, which are their, let's hope this focuses, they're knitting needles, because they are literally knitting the living landscape. And they're doing this, as the yarn shows us here, this green yarn, it forms a heart. So that was obviously intentional, and that immediately shows us that they're doing this with a great deal of love and care. And the expressions on their faces where they meet our eyes directly, that also shows us that these are very sensitive, caring, loving individuals who have joined together to create something between them, which is very much part of the ethos of the world, that connection between people and all beings. But we'll come back to that in a bit. So this is one of the Everyday Enchantment cards that really does encapsulate everyday enchantment. Not all of them are quite so obvious as this one, but we can immediately see that in our nuts and bolts, apparently physical reality, we're not able to knit the land. So there's already an element of magical fantasy in here, but it's very, I suppose we could say, interwoven with this reality. They are both intimately connected, and that the process of knitting actually expresses that, because they're intertwining the everyday, the apparently everyday, and the enchantment. They're literally knitting that together. And because the world is such a culmination card in the major arcana, this card also is a sort of a culmination of the whole deck, because it expresses that everyday enchantment, that blend, absolutely more than any other card, I think. And it also brings together a lot of the preceding cards in the major arcana, particularly I think the Magician in my deck, because he is very much about bringing his will and his wish into the world. What he wishes to create by his good intention actually comes to being. He is magically affecting this reality in a positive and caring way for the sake of all his relations. And that's very much, again, what the women in the world card are doing. And in the book that accompanies it, that is a quick glimpse of the book there, and the ladies themselves say that they're weaving a green-spirited spell for living well, and it's undertaken again with a lot of love, as well as a very clear vision of how they wish the world to be. And the fact that their wish, their will has come to fruition here, is actually come into this reality, they have knitted it into being, is very much connected with the Wild Spirit version, because that is, it's called Wild Harvest. It's very much about fruition, fruit and vegetables, fruition as well, just the actual fruits of their endeavours, shall we say. And it's come by a combination of wish and will for the good of the all. That is very much at the heart of the card. It's for the good of the all. It's not just for their own benefit. They have combined their wish and will for the good of all. And the women in this card, of course, also connect with the central female figure, and the green wreath translates into the greening of the land that they have created by their creative endeavours. And yes, and also the circle of the reef, which is very important because it is, well, it's a it's a culmination, but it's also a continuation. It's the end of one cycle, but the beginning of another. And I feel that translates into this card because it's very much in the round. It's not, everything is moving round in this card. Although the bird is flying out, you say is going this way, the fish is coming this way, they're all, everything, the deer are running across. It's very much a continuation, or that's how I would like it to be. That's what my intention was for it to be. And also, in the Rider-Waite version, you have the representatives of the 4 elements, and I have tried very hard to have representatives of the elements here. We have the clouds of the sky. We also have the unseen being, which is very much an air being. Can you see this being? They are very small, but very important too, because they are also directing their energy into these ladies' endeavours. You can see that. Can you see? I hope you can. The being is really engaged with that process. So we obviously have earth, and we have water, and we have air, and then fire. Fire was difficult. I wasn't going to be able to do an actual fire here, so it's tenuous, I know, but it was the best I could do. That I depicted a red admiral butterfly, so the orangey red was meant to evoke that element of fire, which I couldn't really actually incorporate into this design without it looking a bit strange. So, and so yes, there are all the elements are there if you are prepared to accept that was my best attempt at incorporating or acknowledging the element of fire excuse me, into this card. There's so much to say here, and I'm hoping that I'm not being too hesitant in my delivery, because there is just so much to say, and I'm very conscious of the fact that I want to get it all in, so bear with me. Okay, so what else is there to say? Yes, the women, again, are important, not just because of the female aspect in the Rider-Waite, but because they are also representatives of different races and cultures, because it is very much a culmination card, a connection card, a bringing together card, and very indicative of a joint effort of community, of connection. So that is really important, and that's why they are as they are. It wasn't a token gesture saying, oh, I must have an Asian person in there or whatever. It was just because it was essential to show that these ladies have come together, no matter what their background or whatever their belief is or whatever their culture is. They are working for the common good together, and I hope you can see them. They are very happy to be doing that. It's a very seamless card. It is very interconnected, and that's why knitting was so important to it, because obviously knitting is a very physical bringing together. Everything that I've incorporated into my cards meant something. Again, it was not just a pretty picture. It really symbolically represents something that is essential to that particular card. And of course, this card represents very, very much in the ethos of the deck, because it brings together all beings, human and non-human, seen and unseen. If you can again see this unseen being up here who is very much part of this magical process. So they're all as one. It's about oneness, the oneness of all beings in this world and in all other worlds, because again it's bringing together this apparently solid and material world and all other worlds. It's a real, I know I keep using this word, but it is a culmination. It This is a unifying card. Yes, that's what it is. And another link that I could make is to the Wild Spirit Wheel of Fortune card, which I have redone in another video you can have a look at, but this is the original version where you have the fates literally weaving with this thread that goes round. It's about weaving energies, weaving literal yarn, weaving energies, weaving fate, bringing together for a positive outcome. And knitting, in this case, knitting intentions into the unfolding moment. This landscape is in motion. It's the water is splashing, the deer are running, the whole land undulates. It's very much moving, it's living, it's changing, it's growing, and they are part of that process, as are we. Excuse my cracky shoulder there. Ooh, that wasn't very nice, was it? Also is important about knitting is is that it creates a sort of meditative state. Anybody that knits and is a very good knitter, unlike myself, but somebody that can just do that while they're off thinking of other things, dreaming, it's very much about that process. It's very meditative and helps them dream things into being. The weaving the strands of the seen and the unseen, the physical and the energetic, and in that space of meditation, while the hands are busy creating, the intention flows in. And it also shows us that a single strand or a single individual is beautiful and beneficial and vital, but when they're enmeshed during the knitting process with other strands, different strands of different colours and types, it becomes stronger and more durable and is something new and different. And it reminds us, I hope, or it was my intention, that it reminds us that we should appreciate our unique strand of whatever colour or shape or type that strand may be in the world, and appreciate it within the combined tapestry of life. That is an important thread. We are an important thread. We hold that thread, and what we choose to work with that thread is really precious and important, but also to understand that joining those threads with others for the good of the all can make us stronger and more purposeful and inspired. And that's what the women have done here. They've joined together with a common purpose. So the world is about our journey, but it's also about a shared journey for the greater good. And that's really a very powerful thing. I think the world is an incredibly beautiful and powerful card. I hope that I have translated that adequately into my version here, and into the new version of the Wild Spirit, which is totally different, but I've done another video on this, so I'm not going to focus on too long. But although she is alone, she is working with the whole of creation and the elements to bring something beautiful to fruition. So that has the same ethos, but in a different way. So the world is also about taking stock. It's about what we've achieved personally, like the woman in the Seven of Coins here. She's very much taking a moment, taking stock of her stock, literally. She's pondering, what have I achieved? Where would I like this to go next? And actually, while she's pondering, she's missing the fact that somebody's offering her money for what she has achieved, but more on that another time. I just wanted to draw the connection because there are so many connections between the cards, but I can't pick all of them. So this one I thought was important because it's very much a moment of pause and reflection and taking stock of what we have created and what we want to create. So, it's taking stock on a personal level about what we've achieved, but also what we've contributed in a wider sense to the wider community. So it's always about holding that dual awareness of what we're actually doing as an individual, our little part of the tapestry, and what we're giving to the whole. So it's about valuing that unique point of perception that we call me, and honouring and working for the greater self, which is exactly what these women are doing here. And the greater self, of course, encompasses all our relations, and we have as many of them as I could fit in on this particular card. So our creation in this cycle is important. What we've achieved personally is very important, and we could just take it on that level, because all these cards are so multifaceted, so you can take it on a very obvious basic level, or you can go deeper and deeper into it, and we could just think about what we've achieved personally, and that's fine. But it's also about what we've shared with creation as a whole, not just our human society and our human community, but what have we given to creation as a whole? As creators, how have we improved on the greater creation with our endeavours? Now, our harvest, our yield, in this case, in the Wild Spirit version, very literal harvest in a basket, but in the world we see it very differently, that they're actually creating a much wider living landscape, shall we say. Yes, so I've lost my thread now, which is very apposite, isn't it? Thread, yarn. Right, what was I trying to say there? Yes, our harvest, our creation, it might be something, as physical material as a basket of fruit and vegetables, which is a wonderful thing, and that's what we've grown, that's what we've harvested. But it can also be about what we've understood. It doesn't need to be quite so physical, what we've achieved. I don't want us to always think that, it's about production. It's not. It's about more subtle, intangible achievements. What have we understood? And because the Major Arcana is very much about the Fool's journey. There he is there. I hope you can see him. The world is the completion of that cycle of the Fool's journey. It's the place where we pause on the Fool's journey, and we look at what we've completed just for this cycle, and then we can integrate that into our lives. How have we been able to reap what we've sown, or we've sown? Because you could say they were sewing, although they're knitting in a more literal sense, but what they've sown, she has sown into the earth, and they have sown into the earth. It's both the same thing. So it's a completion of what they, although this is an ongoing creation, it's a completion of that particular part of the journey, of the Fool's journey. And so we pause and we say, what have we sown or sown into our lives? But this card again has another layer to it, and I think that could be about seeing the world. And that could be taken in two ways. In the most obvious sense, it obviously means travel, but not necessarily the kind of tick box tourism or even mindless drifting, going on a gap year. It doesn't necessarily have to be about that, unless it's about broadening our horizons and our outlook. It's more about that than just going on a holiday, although it can be that, you can take it at that. You could be about to travel somewhere for any reason, but on a deeper level, it's about broadening horizons and our outlook and gaining a wider perspective, and in doing so, increasing our empathy and understanding of others within the circle of life. The circle of life. It's very much about that to me, but to you it might be on a completely different level, and it doesn't matter. They're all valid ways of interpreting this. So yeah, it could be about seeing the world, but it could be about also seeing the world that we currently inhabit with fresh eyes. So experiencing where we are now, this realm, this reality, in a completely different way, starting to experience it more as a seamless whole rather than us trying to achieve something for our own ends. It's about a way of seeing and being, and of living in awareness. I think that's so important, living in awareness and in appreciation. And I just very quickly, oh, where's he gone? Very quickly, I love this William Blake quote, which really does sum that up. It could be said to be about seeing a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower, holding infinity in the palm of our hand and eternity in an hour. That was a bit paraphrased, but I think you know the William Blake quote. It's very famous and very beautiful. So it's about having that awareness, seeing more deeply into where we are now, seeing the world in a different way, whether we're going on a plane or a boat, or whether we're just going on a walk from where we live and seeing things in a completely different way, in a more interconnected way, seeing the everyday enchantment and appreciating it. And that can be what the world's about. It certainly does encourage us to take a breath, a bit like the lady in the Seven of Coins is doing. It's about taking a breath, making a full and fearless inventory of where we've been, how we've changed, and what we've created. But also about what we've understood and how we'd like to proceed from here. So it's a point of reflection, but also of projection into the next part of the cycle. And our Fool is always poised for the next part of the cycle. He's ready to take us on another journey, a new exciting journey, because he's very excited about it. As you can see, he's a very happy and enthusiastic chap. But for now, the world is about reflection, assimilation of everything we've learned, bringing a harvest in, the wild harvest, whether that is a literal harvest or whether it's a harvest of what we've gleaned, our understanding, our appreciation. And now we've got the whole world in our hands, like these ladies here. That is part of why I created this card. It's about having the whole world in our hands to study, to appreciate, to enjoy, to give value to, and to ask ourselves, have we valued this enough? And how will we show our love and appreciation and our creativity on whatever level we choose to do that in the future? How will we move on from here? Just try and, before I stop, which I'm going to very shortly, just give you, I'm probably chopping their heads off. I'm doing my best here. This has been quite a difficult video to do because there's so much to say and I've nearly run out of time. So I am going to just leave you with that card now, and thank you very much for bearing with me on this long video. I really do appreciate and value you. So take care of yourselves and of all other beings you encounter, and enjoy the world. Lots of love to you all. Bye bye.